Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to my channel, Nelly the Narcissist. Thank you so much for joining today. Now by now I'm sure that you know that I'm not a narcissist and that Nelly the Narcissist is the motif and the face of my channel, and she's the character that I portray in all of my comedy skits. So if you haven't seen those, then I'm going to have a playlist that I'm going to link down below for you to go check out. Now many of you found my channel through the video that I made, How I Know the Narcissist is Demonic, from my own survivor's experience. And if you haven't seen that, then I suggest watching that podcast first and then coming back to this one. So that video I was reluctant and I was quite afraid to make and put out because obviously it's a difficult subject to publicly speak about. And I was expecting to get heavily chastised. But when I put out that video of my demonic encounter, instead of being berated, there was a small portion of that obviously to be expected. The larger consensus wasn't just in agreement with my conclusion, but people, I think by the hundred from all over the world, from all walks of life, pour forward to share their own encounters with me. And I had no idea how large a scale this was. I thought it would be a very small minority, but I was very wrong, and I got inundated with people reaching out to me. And as I'm there collecting all of this data, I started to put a bigger picture together, and I noticed so many interconnecting threads and connections that linked every single story together, giving me a deeper understanding of what I experienced. So I feel in a very, very privileged position to have all of this information, basically. And I'm studying, and what I'm learning, I'm going to be presenting to you every step of the way if I think that there's something important to share. And actually today, I'm going to be sharing some interesting information that came to my attention through the comment section, actually. Honestly, the comment section of my videos can provide such a treasure trove with some golden nuggets of information to be found. And that is a blessing. And sometimes something sparks my interest and I follow it through and I research and I get led to some incredible information. And thanks to a viewer's comment, I'm actually going to be sharing some findings in the relation of this subject of the demonic and narcissism. And I think it's very important for people to know. And by the end of this video, I hope that you're going to have some interesting and new awareness. And you may agree or disagree, but in any case, I'm going to present it. And if you resonate with this video, then please remember, as always, to do what you always do. Drop me a comment below and like and share this video with anybody that you think it might help. Let's start basically by addressing the concept of narcissistic abuse, particularly if you've been involved with a malignant, psychopathic narcissist, because the level of evil housed within them is extreme, despite their inconspicuous appearance. I believe if we cut through the psychology and all of the talks about personality disorders, that really doesn't cut the mustard, in my opinion. And we fly like an arrow directly to the center of what this is all about. This comes down to spiritual warfare, in my opinion, between the dualistic forces of good and evil. One side, which is your side, has love. It has light. The other side, where the narcissist is located, does not have love, has no love, and is instead coming from a place of very wicked intent that is most of the time concealed by the outer package. I came to the conclusion eventually, however reluctantly, that there is a demonic influence hiding behind the mask of a malignant narcissist. And I know it because I made contact with it on 2 occasions. And in the end, I got the realization that I was an unknown participant inside spiritual warfare. I'd never signed up for it. I would never have signed up for it. I didn't even know it was happening, but it was happening, whether I liked it or not. Now, I received so many comments in my previous video quoting the same Bible verse that I'm going to read to you here. And it's actually from Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. I'm sure that you know it. This is from the New International Version. And I really just want to say this and kickstart the video. For our struggle is not against flesh or blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This verse is very accurate to describe the encounter with a narcissist that many of you basically have had, because you would have come to the realization, like myself, that the relationship was one-on-one to the naked eye, but there was a much bigger and unseen spiritual battle taking place. And you were made aware that a connection to a dark force working through the narcissist was trying to take you out and basically attempt an assassination mission on a soul level. And this is my belief, is a directed spiritual attack, and the narcissist working as kind of like an agent for the other side, on the other team. This is divided up. It's two forces, good and evil, but you never ever see them coming. You don't know what's happening. You don't realize that this is a spiritual battle. You just see the human form of the narcissist. And it can trick us into believing that we're just dealing with a person of flesh and blood one-to-one. But whether this is male or female, it doesn't matter. At some point, for those that have uncovered the spiritual dimension and this spiritual warfare, you become aware that this power that they have within them is superhuman, and it's more than human. And the energetic grip that they are able to have over you is like nothing that you knew ever existed. It's not on a human level. It feels like a death grip where you're energetically drained and you feel enslaved and chained and entrapped. But on a soul level, even though you're aware that you need to get out to survive, you're like Jonathan Harker in Bram Stoker's, Dracula. He's imprisoned in Dracula's castle. He gets the vibes that seriously bad things and evil things are going on, and that things are being done to him, and he's in grave danger and even getting sick. And there appears to be nothing stopping him from leaving in physical 3D form from that prison state of that dark castle. But appearances can be deceiving and deceptive, because we know and we'll feel that we are being stopped on the energetic level. It's draining our life force. And that's just one thing that's preventing us from walking out the door. And this goes far beyond brainwashing and in training with psychological techniques. If this was just psychological, it would be so much easier to deal with. And there wouldn't be such a danger to people's lives. So getting now to some new findings. It may be new findings, or it might not be new for you, but I'd never heard of a term called soulless beings or organic portals. A viewer, thank you to them, intrigued me by this and said that Rudolf Steiner, for years, had been discussing this topic of these soulless beings and organic portals. And I wanted to understand, what other information was out there regarding the subject of demonic influences, demonic possessions. And this wasn't a topic that I would ever have believed could have been real until obviously I had my experience. And this research actually led me to a PDF document that I'm going to link down below. It's on Scribed, and it was written by somebody that I can't pronounce the name of, called Bernard Guenther, and it was written in 2011, and it's actually called Organic Portals, Piercing the Veil of Reality. And I'd like to read some quotes that he starts with, because I found this document pretty mind-blowing. Now, first thing that he says is 3 seminal quotes to set the stage. This is the first one. A considerable percentage of the people we meet on the street are people who are empty inside. That is, they're actually already dead. It is fortunate for us that we do not see and we do not know it. If we knew what a number of people are actually dead and what a number of these dead people govern our lives, we should go mad with horror. So this quote, from the offset is describing very much what we know about narcissists from a psychological point of view. Now, in psychology, they dictate that narcissists, like Sam Vaknin describes, are like vampires because they're the living dead. They're living, but they're not really alive. The heart's beating, is pushing blood around the body, but the heart is definitely not functioning as a human being, because there's no love, there's no heart center, and the lights are on, but nobody's home. There is a false self, but where is the real self? What happened to the real self, and how can a soul seem to not be present? Where did they go? Where did the person go? There's meant to be a person, but instead there's this hollowness and it's a shell. But if only it was just a shell, if it was just emptiness, and the narcissist was vacant, but they're far from vacant because they're filled to the rim with what can only be described, as evil in many cases. And on the darker side, when psychopathy is interacting with NPD, we don't only find a shell person that contains a ton of negative emotion and this evil, but a drive to do serious harm to others and a desire to kill and destroy with pleasure. They know what they're doing, and that's what they want to do. This is not done out of innocence. It's not like, oh, it's my NPD. Whoops. Okay, I'll go to therapy. You've probably seen the film The Shining, and you know that red rum spells murder backwards. For the purpose of the algorithm, because I don't want to keep on saying that, I'm just going to use the term red rum and a red rummer. Narcissists moving up the scale of NPD are red rummers, even if they don't do it physically because they don't want to get caught. They will aim to red rum your spirit, and let's make no doubt about this. We know that that's truth. That's the danger of getting caught up with someone that is a psychopathic narcissist. Life will be in jeopardy when you're around them and in close contact. And I don't only know that from myself, but from lots of other people that got extremely sick around narcissists. The next quote on this document is from Sri Aurobindo. And honestly, whoever this person is, you're about to find out, has knowingly or unknowingly shone a light on the dark spiritual aspect of narcissism and actually gives us the most crystal clear understanding without a doubt of what is going on a spiritual level, in my opinion. So there are some human beings who are like vampires. What are they and why are they like that? And he continues, they're not human. There is only a human form of appearance. They are incarnations of beings from the world that is just next to the physical. The beings of this world have by their nature a strange grip over the material world and can exercise upon it a sinister influence. Some of them are formed of the human beings that persist after death in the vital atmosphere next to the earth plane. These are minor beings, and if they can be very troublesome, it is not yet, though, impossible to deal with them. So this would be your regular type of, ghost, but they can be dealt with. But I want to go on here because what is said by him now is very interesting. There are other beings far more dangerous who have never been in human form. They have never been born to a human body upon earth. For most of them, refuse to accept this way of birth because it is slavery to matter. And they prefer to stay in their own world, powerful and mischievous, and to control earthly beings from there. For if they do not want to be born on earth, they do want to be in contact with the physical nature, but without being bound by it. So are you following? This isn't a spirit of somebody that has once been. He's describing entities now of a demonic nature. What he's about to say now, I feel, shines a torch on this mystery and lots of questions that are usually unanswered of how does a human being, how does a malignant narcissist or a psychopath become both a vessel and a channel for such evil and demonic entities to work through? He's actually about to spell it out. Their method is to first try to cast their influence upon a man or woman. Then they slowly enter his or her atmosphere. And in the end, they may get complete possession of him or her, driving out entirely the real human soul and personality. These creatures, when in possession of an earthly body, have a human appearance, but they have not a human nature. I've said before, to try to help survivors of narcissistic abuse to change your mindset completely. And I said, don't see this as a human being as you know. It's an alien species to you. But what I became aware of with malignant narcissists is they're actually closer to being more of a creature than they are a human being. And that's not to be derogatory. This is literally the truth. that you have to accept in your mind to keep yourself safe. And it's really hard to do because you may love and you may have a real attachment to the narcissist and their human form, to this idealized image of who you believe them to be from the start. And your eyes and your heart want to trick you to believe in the human form. Yet you know in your heart of hearts, there's such a danger. And I'm sure most of you that have dealt with this type of narcissist, you know that there's more in operation. They're in more operation like a creature than they are a human being. Now, the following part of this quote is even more scarily accurate for describing those kind of dynamics within narcissistic relationships that I've been speaking about this entire time, as my hunch in the videos that I make. So he continues, to tell us about the operations and the aims of these entities. Their habit is to draw upon the life force of human beings. They attack and capture vital power wherever they can get and feed upon it. If they come into your atmosphere, you suddenly feel depressed and exhausted. If you're near them for some time, you feel sick. If you live with one of them, it may kill you. Now, there's much more to this quote that I'm eager to read to you. And I don't know, about you, but when I first read what you just heard, it pierced me as truth straight to my soul. And it was like, that is exactly what's going on here. I felt it. Some of my friends felt it too and tried hard to warn me and get me the heck away, but I wouldn't listen. I chose to believe in the lie of the narcissist and the deception of the humanity. But I knew I was being drained and depleted energetically. I felt, like I said about Bram Stoker's Dracula, I felt like I was imprisoned by a strange power over me. Although I kept on stuffing it down and rationalizing it in my mind, deep down my intuition was telling me that I was in serious trouble, but I refused to believe it because I didn't want that to be truth. I never saw this on the spiritual level. Even when my friend pressed upon me that the narcissist was siphoning energy, and she knew that that was such a violation of a human soul. She said the word energy vampire, but she knew that it was more. But at the time, she didn't really have the language. And I knew that I was being fed upon energetically because you do feel it. But, that exhaustion became the state of my being. And you can forget what normal life should feel like or, what you should feel like. Yeah, I was willingly giving myself as food. I was so hooked up. I was entranced and I wouldn't let go of it. And this, if I didn't let go in the end, was going to be the end of me. And obviously, in my tale, there was a big climax and it became my spiritual fight for survival. But nobody knew or would have seen what was taking place between us in those final weeks because this was all going on behind the scenes. It wasn't in the 3D realm. But I knew what was going on, and the narcissist knew also what was going on. And this was the most exhausting fight for my life, for the energy that it took to shake loose from that death grip and hold from these entities working through the narcissist. Wow, I don't think this was a singular entity at all, and I don't think that there really are singular entities. If you remember a dear subscriber of mine from months and months ago that's always supported the channel, shared his knowledge that demons like to work in groups. And I definitely believe this because I don't believe this was one-on-one. I believe it was me against a whole host of entities that were working through the narcissist. That's how it felt. The power was so strong over me, and getting loose from that kind of death grip was the hardest thing I think that I will ever have to go through in my life. And I definitely will make sure that I never end up there ever again. I will see the signs and read the signs and be very clear who I'm dealing with. And I think many of us, in all the stories that I've heard, we can recall how sick we became when we were around the frequency of the narcissist. For a lot of us, this happens directly after we get out of the relationship with them. We're so battered and bruised, we feel battle weary, even though a physical battle may never have happened. ever between the pair of you. But so many times we crash energetically because we've been drained and we've been under spiritual attack for so long that this has a strong effect on us. I felt like a great white shark had taken a huge chunk out of me. And many people get sick on the physical level, because of what was siphoned from them and taken without their permission through exposure to these dark entities. And like we all know, and like what I spoke about in my previous video about, the demonic and narcissists, prolonged exposure to this can extinguish us. So I want to continue and just take you to the end of this quote now, because the next section gives us further insights of how to deal with such a human creature like this that's moved by those entities. So the question, but how is one to get such creatures out of one's environment when they were once there? The vital power incarnated in these beings is of a very material kind and is effective only within a short distance. Ordinarily, if you do not live in the same house or if you are not in the same company as them, you do not come within their influence. And this is so interesting because if you recall, what my saving grace was in my story was to get out of the narcissist's energetic influence and to get physical distance. I jumped on a plane, I got thousands of miles away. Any distance is good, but the larger distance, the better. There's a spiritual saying that the mountain is clearer from the plain. It's not clear from the mountain. You see, when you're on the mountain climbing it, you can't see what's going on. When you step back, you can. And that's what distance creates. It enables us to come out of that energetic hold. It enables us to come out of that fog and to gain more clarity, to be able to see more clearly. Exactly what Aurobindo just basically described. These demonic entities, they have a powerful influence over you when you are in physical contact with them, especially if you're living in their environment. And I remember, and I know that I'm an empath, how quickly the narcissist wanted to move me in, to live in the same house. And this is a common theme that I've seen reflected in so many stories of people reaching out to me. I'm hearing, we moved in really fast. The relationship began really, really fast, and the narcissist wanted me to move in with them. Super, super fast. Like, I'd never move in that fast normally with anybody. And I reflect on this statement from Aurobindo, and I can say, yeah, it's easier, number one, to gain energetic influence over you at close proximity, especially if you're living together. And also, the narcissists and whatever demonic level entities are working through them can gain then access to your energy to start to siphon you. It's harder to do at a distance. They need you close. And again, when the relationships move so fast, it often tricks us into thinking, wow, they really love us. They really want to be with us. That's why they want to live with us. Now, healthy relationships don't usually move that fast. They don't move to the point of you moving in with somebody and planning your whole life with them within the first month of meeting. That's a red flag. And I also believe, as I've seen for myself, if you do have your light shining, then the narcissist will want to claim you as theirs as fast as possible. It can be misconstrued as a romantic gesture. But the narcissist wants to get you in the environment so they can infiltrate themselves into your energetic field, so they can take power over you and they can begin the draining. And it's easier for them, and so it's beneficial to get you under the same roof as quickly as possible. So these extracts from Sri Aurobindo, the mother, come from his text, actually, The Hidden Forces of Life, and a quote from the book, "All life is a play of hidden forces. We live and we move in a world of forces of which we are almost completely unaware. And if we return now full loop to the scripture in the Bible, and this one from Ephesians King James Version. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is a spiritual battle to which those that have mixed up with a narcissist of this caliber now all know about, and we have struggled to put this into words. For in the space, of every day, there's no language. There's no language for what we experience because it's not of this world and it's not visible to the human eye. Now, I've dealt with other narcissists in my time, and nothing that I saw from them could have prepared me for the last one. So it's in my belief, that not all narcissists have these entities attached or working through them, although some of you will disagree, or perhaps I'm wrong, and perhaps they all do, but they have lesser entities and they're not so influential. I really don't have the answers, but I don't really need to know everything. But there's one thing for sure. If you've met and you've been connected to a narcissist that does have a demonic influence or possession, you will know all about it, because these creatures are highly, highly dangerous, and they destroy life. They destroy everything that's good. They destroy you if you allow them. And there are so many people surviving their ordeals with narcissists that have arrived to the same spiritual conclusion and knowing, having been exposed to the truth, i.e. having seen or felt, or a combination of the two, because there is a tangible energy that you can feel with these dark forces. Sometimes they surface on purpose in a controlled setting, or when the narcissist, really can't keep them down. In any case, it's not really something that narcissist wears on the surface, because once they're revealed, the game's up. It was for me anyway. Their power is in their stealth and hiding in the shadows. So they don't want this to be known by anybody. But I'm putting the word out, just as other people put the word out. More and more people are sharing their experiences, are sharing their encounters. They're not crazy. They saw it. They experienced it. This is real, and this is real life. This isn't a horror film. This isn't a ghost story. This is absolutely happening today, right now. And it probably has been happening since the dawn of time. Who knows? So I really hope that this video was helpful to you today. And if you resonate, then please leave me a comment down below. And I want to say a big thank you to all of the subscribers that reached out to me to make me aware that there was a copycat on YouTube that was using my previous video and reappropriating it for their own content. Now, I did report it to YouTube, and I hope that it will be taken down, and I hope that this person will be punished. But anyway, we don't know. We can't guarantee any of this. These AI channels that talk about narcissistic abuse, narcissistic relationships, they've got that fake, AI narration, and they take a lot of other creators' videos. So please do continue to make me aware, and make any other creators aware if you hear that their videos are being reappropriated and used as somebody else's content. We really appreciate it, because obviously we put a lot of hard work and effort into the podcast that we make. So thank you all so much for watching. Take care, sending love, and I will see you all again next week.